All right, men, welcome to today's episode of Strong Men, Strong Marriages, how to build mental strength in marriage. So this is one of the big focuses of my program, Strong Men, Strong Marriages. It has a huge impact on just your life in general, and especially your marriage. So I'm excited to share this with you today. My name is Mike Fraser, MD, psychiatrist and marriage coach. I help high-achieving Christian men have more intimate marriages. So some wins from guys in my program, Strong Men, Strong Marriages. Guys are having increased sexual intimacy, not just the frequency, but just the level of connection and intensity of that connection is so much better. When you build these pillars, when you have trust, when you have mental emotional intimacy, the sexual intimacy becomes just amazing. Guys are getting these incredible love notes from their wives, just sharing how much they've changed and how much they're appreciating that. Man, that was like a really special moment to see that happening. Guys are having quote unquote successful disagreements with their wives. Look, we're always going to have disagreements. We're always going to have conflict, but guys are learning how to turn those into more connection. Guys are improving their relationships with their teenage children. Okay, when you learn these relationship skills, it translates not just to your wife, but to your kids, to your business, to your all of that. Guys are feeling less tension, less resentment, and less frustration. A lot of the guys that come in, they're feeling those things. They're feeling resentful of their wife. They're feeling tense. They're feeling stressed. They're feeling uncomfortable at home. They feel like they're walking on eggshells. So they're frustrated that they don't have what they want. Okay, all of that's going away. So another kind of it's not a big focus of the program, but it is a focus. The physical strength, guys they're losing weight. They're increasing their energy because they are engaging in physical activity. It's great for your brain, helps your mental strength as well, doing some physical exercise. That's always a fun win that I see from guys in the program. For me this week, really big breakthroughs around safety. My wife shared with me a lot of times she doesn't feel safe because of anger outbursts that I have, particularly against my oldest son. Um, and I really, she'd said that before, but I took it more to heart. And I've been seeing my own therapist that's been super helpful, and just did some work around that I'll share more in next week's episode. But man, just like a really big moment for me, and led to a lot more connection between both of us. Um, those tough conversations, right? They're not fun in the moment, but they lead to that real intimacy and that increased connection after. So right now in your marriage, like we're talking about mental strength today, but really what we're going for is a different feeling in our marriage, a different emotional, spiritual state. But a lot of that flows from what we're thinking about. So right now you're feeling angry and resentful in your marriage. Okay, with money, she spends too much. With sex, we don't have enough. With in-laws, we spend too much time with hers. With parenting, I do all the work, or I don't like the way she's parenting. With religion, I'm kind of hiding mine and I resent that, or I don't like the way she's doing hers. With housework, I'm doing more than my share. With free time, she spends free time how she wants and I don't. Okay, so a lot of times we can get these frustrating or resentful feelings. We can feel sad. We can feel a lack of confidence. Like, man, I talk to guys on the phone and on calls, and they say they feel just this lack of confidence, like their wife's in the driver's seat in the marriage, and they don't really like that. So what guys will do to try to change this is to try to change their wife. Okay. So they'll try to make her stop spending money. They'll try to make her have sex with them more often. They'll try to make her say thank you to them more often. They'll try to make her, do more around the house. So can that help? Kind of. But we'll get into why it's not really the solution. And, again, we're talking about mental strength. It doesn't sound like it, but a lot of this has to do with what we're thinking and believing. The other thing guys will do is just try to stop feeling that way. Like, okay, I shouldn't feel angry. I shouldn't feel resentful. I should just serve my wife. That's the Christian thing to do. So they'll do that for a while, but then they get fed up with that because they, never get anything they want, which is not sustainable for a marriage. Guys will also be just really highly affected by their wife's actions or inactions. If their wife gives them a hug, they're on top of the world. If she turns away from a kiss, they're destroyed, right? They're just very up and down. And again, that has to do with the emotional strength that we'll talk about next week. But again, your emotions a lot of times tie to your thinking. Okay, so why we do this, why we try to change our wife's behaviors, or why we try to just like tell ourselves, stop it, stop feeling that way, is we just don't really understand what generates our feelings. It's not a particular situation. It's not that your wife spent too much money on Christmas presents or, whatever. It's actually our interpretation of that situation. So, let's say she spent, in X amount of dollars on, let's say she spent, let's just use a really wild number. Let's say she spent $10 million on Christmas presents. Okay. And you're like, that's just a fact. That's how much she spent. But then it's your interpretation. Okay. It's your interpretation. So it's like, man, she spent all that money and she didn't spend any on me. Okay. And so I'm not worthwhile. Okay. So maybe it's that. Or maybe it's she spent all that money and she didn't even say thank you to me. So I feel unappreciated. Okay. That fact still happened. She spent X amount of dollars, but you interpreted that a certain way. And that made you feel another way. Okay. That made you feel a certain way. So you felt unappreciated, unloved, taken advantage of. Right. But that all depends on your interpretation. Now, a lot of times this interpretation is not completely conscious to us. This is why it's important to come get help, right? Come see somebody that can help you find these things. The more I'm doing this work myself, the more I'm realizing, man, like we all really do need some help finding these things. A lot of times we're operating from old messaging, and a lot of times that's from our childhood, and it's not always immediately available to us. Okay. So, in this example, she spent all this money. It could be coming from this thought of my wife ignores my needs. So your interpretation is, what? No one really cares about me. I have to do everything myself. And what that can trace back to is like my parents ignored my needs, right? And so this younger version of you believes that no one cares about me. I have to do it all myself. No one's going to be there for me. And it's really, so her spending that money activates all this old stuff, right? And what it comes across to her as is like anger and frustration. Like, why'd you do that? And so she gets kind of scared instead of you being able to look and see, oh, shoot, like this is coming from really kind of old stuff that I need to take care of. Right. Um, so that's why you trying to just like make her stop spending money. Will that help? Yeah. But that same thought and feeling will come up other places. So maybe she stops spending money, but then you're going to find some other place where you're going to still believe she doesn't care about you. Okay, she's not honoring your needs, right? She doesn't really care because that's your deep-seated belief that you have to take care of everything yourself. So your brain's always looking for evidence to prove that to yourself. Okay. It's not until you actually start believing, oh, actually I am worthy of love. Oh, actually I do matter and I can take care of that younger me in some ways. Okay, that's when things will start shifting. But before you make that shift, it's just not going to work, right? Because even if your wife does care or shows she cares, you're still operating under those old beliefs. And again, you're going to find evidence for that. So she could be doing everything she can possibly think of to show you you're important. And you can still block all that out when you really deeply believe no one cares and I have to take care of myself. Okay. This kind of new stuff I'm learning too here. I used to not put a lot of stock in like the childhood stuff, but the more I do my own work around that, the more I think, oh shoot, like yeah, to make some deeper lasting changes, it's important to go there and explore that. So instead of, trying to change your situation so that you feel better, you need to gain awareness of your thoughts. Okay. So writing them out can really help. So if your wife spent all that money on Christmas presents, right? You need to just write out, oh, she doesn't care, she's selfish, whatever comes to mind, right? That can help. But then to go one step further, try to find the root of those. Okay, like what's that really coming from? Where else did I learn this lesson that people don't care, that I have to do it myself? Try to trace it back to your childhood if you can, right? Childhood or past relationship memories where other, sometimes I'll have guys that come in and they come from a marriage or a long-term relationship where their wife or girlfriend was unfaithful. And so they bring that in and that fear follows them into the next relationship. So yeah, like no one cares. I'm going to be cheated on, right? That you can bring that in, and that belief is going to generate feelings of fear, of mistrust, which paradoxically, it pushes your wife away, makes it more likely she'll be unfaithful or leave. Okay. This is the weird thing about how our brains operate, that what we think and believe often ends up in the results that we get. So if you really believe no one cares, often you'll get to the point that no one cares because you start feeling resentful, frustrated, start pushing people away. And then people, they stop caring because they can't break through that wall that you've got up. Okay. So looking back to those childhood past relationship memories, then you want to just give yourself grace for those beliefs. Like, you know what, Mike, maybe people weren't there for you in ways that you wanted or needed. And maybe, Joe, your wife did cheat on you in the past. Of course, you're going to think, no one's there for me. So give yourself grace and then just decide if you want to keep those beliefs or not. Do I want to continue to believe life's unfair? No one cares about me. I have to do everything on my own, or not, right? Then if you want to believe something else, then you can choose new, more useful thoughts. Hey, like maybe some people do care. And next week, we're going to talk about like the emotional strength and some things you can do that will help with that. The thing is, when you choose to start thinking differently, it's not just thinking differently, like thinking positive. If you just say, well, I guess I just have to think, if I believe no one cares about me, I just have to think everybody cares about me. So I'll just start thinking that. Your brain will reject that and it won't work. You have to choose thoughts you actually believe, or at least that you want to start believing. A lot of times with guys I work with, we'll start with, you know, an idea of, well, maybe people do care. Just that kind of like a maybe, instead of like, oh yeah, 100% people care, when you're not quite ready to believe that. But if you can believe, oh, like maybe people do care, maybe my wife actually does care about me. Okay, your brain can then start searching for evidence for that, and a lot of times you'll find it. Okay, and then you'll start feeling, you know what, look, she bought me a donut yesterday, or she, a lot of times when I ask her to do things, she does them. So you start thinking, you know what, maybe she does care. Maybe she does care about my needs. And then that can transform into, oh, like she does. Yeah, maybe I don't have to do everything myself, turns into, I don't have to do everything myself. People are willing to help me. Okay. So let's give an example. Like we've talked about spending money on the presents, but let's say you come home and your wife is on the phone. Okay, this is a common one. So an old thought might be, she doesn't care about me, just like my parents didn't care about my needs. No one cares about what I want. No one pays attention to me. Okay, so that makes you feel alone, rejected. Okay, these are some things I'm working through myself, that I find these feelings come up a decent amount for me. So, but a new thought could be like, I'm valuable. Hey, this is reminding me of old things that are not totally true. Here are ways she does care. Here are ways I can care about myself. Right? So now you see her on your phone, and then you're like, oh wait, like this isn't about her being on the phone. This is about me, having all these old feelings activated, right? So now you start feeling valuable, you start feeling cared for, and then your actions start to change. So in the first one, oh, she doesn't care, you might just walk away and pout, right? Or maybe you're mad at her, oh, get off your phone. Versus the other one, because a lot of times the anger covers for things like feeling rejected, alone, sad. But if you come in with this new thought, hey, I'm valuable, and my wife does care, your actions start shifting too, because you feel valuable, you feel fine. Maybe you start feeling interested in her, like, hey, what are you up to on your phone? Or maybe you just ask her, hey, can you put your phone down for a minute and I want to tell you about my day, right? Your actions start shifting, but that only really works when your thoughts and feelings start shifting. So let's say you use that same line, right? That, hey, could you put your phone down? I'd like to tell you about my day. That can come from a thought of, you don't really care and you should care. I'm going to make you care, right? Which is like, put your phone down. Like, I want to tell you about my day. And then she's like, whoa, okay, I guess I'll listen. But she's scared, or she just like fires back, like, don't talk to me like that. Versus coming from a place of value, like you're just want to tell her about your day. You're like, hey, could you put your phone down for a minute? I want to tell you about my day. Then she's probably going to be like, yeah, sure. Give me a second. Let me put it down or whatever, right? So again, mental strength is so important, but it takes some work to find like the problematic thoughts. So you need some skills to do this. You need self-worth and self-esteem that are based in God, something eternal. A lot of this has to do with your relationship with yourself. If you can really be there for yourself and connect to God and his love for you each day, a lot of stuff starts falling off as far as importance goes, right? You don't need as much of your wife or other people to build you up when you already feel that self-worth from God. And paradoxically, that's when people do tend to be attracted to you more. That's when they are happy to do more things for you, when you already feel full. Okay. The other thing is, the other skill you need is awareness of your old thoughts and beliefs. And look, the more I do this for myself, the more I do this with other guys, the more I'm realizing it does take outside perspective and work to see these old thoughts. Okay, you need some help to really find them, especially these deeper ones. Then you need some new thoughts and beliefs. And again, by definition, it's going to take outside influence to help find these. Okay, you can't just come up with new ideas on your own, right? You need to get them from other places. Maybe you synthesize from different uh, areas to create kind of your own custom thought based on other things, but you need new inputs for new thoughts and beliefs. Okay? Then you need intentional practice of the new beliefs to rewire your brain so that these become the new default. Let's say your old default is no one cares about me. I have to do everything myself. If you want to rewire that into, you know what, I don't have to do it all myself. I can ask people for help. They are willing to help me. Your brain's going to want to go back to that old thing, and you need repetitions of the new to really make it stick and rewire your brain, and new experiences that you reflect on and all of that. So this is really what we do in my program, Strong Men, Strong Marriage. And this is why it works so well and works so quickly. Okay, is we help you identify and eliminate negative, unattractive patterns of thinking, feeling, and acting. You've heard me say that, but hopefully this helps you understand a little better that when you think a certain way, you feel a certain way that's problematic, like irritated or frustrated or lonely or whatever. And then that makes you act in ways that are problematic and gets you bad results. Okay. So then we need to replace those with positive, attractive patterns. Again, you're going to need some outside help to give you some new ideas. And then you need to repeat those new patterns of thinking, feeling, and acting until they become a new habit. So we do all this in the program. We hold you accountable for that every day to make sure you're doing it and rewiring your brain in the most effective, most efficient way possible, connecting that to God, having it be faith-based. Because when you do that, you just can't fail. Right. So come join us in Strong Men, Strong Marriages. We're going to help you do it. Visit strongmenstrongmarriages.com or strongmen.io. I have that one now. That'll direct there. So apply to join. We'll you'll fill out an application, and then from there we'll talk to you on the call, tell you about your options, and go from there. So there's a link in the show notes. Or again, strongmenstrongmarriages.com, strongmen.io. We'll also get you there. All right. Stay strong, men, and we will see you next episode.